Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Ooyukiumi no Kaina. It's been a while, hasn't it? But we're back, of course. I need to finish this series, so here I am, finishing it. And not just out of obligation, of course, I still do very much enjoy it. I don't know, haven't had the divine inspiration to sit down and watch it. Regardless, we are here in episode 9. Episode 9 of 11, because we need to remember there's also a movie, or rather, instead of episode 12, we will be getting a movie. So that's gonna be interesting. And it will certainly have some impact on the pacing and the way storytelling works in this series. I guess you can already tell that the pace is fairly slow, right? I mean, in the previous episodes, let's think about it, not much really happened. Now, sure, it was mostly a downtime episode, so that's another thing, but in general, there isn't much quantity-wise that happens in episodes of this show. There's plenty of quality, for sure, but the episodes aren't like tightly packed with events. I'm watching Symphogear AXZ right now at the same time, and episodes of Symphogear AXZ are packed. Every single episode feels like 3 episodes just merged together, and it somehow works, which is the weirdest thing. Ooyukiumi no Kaina is kind of the opposite, where every episode kind of feels like 3/4 of an episode, right? It could have been a little more stuff, but it still works somehow. So I don't mind the pacing. There are shows with slow pacing, there are shows with fast pacing. What matters is that it's executed well, right? And it very much is in case of this show. I mentioned the previous episode, and what happened there in episode 8 is an escape from Valgia, and then a bit of recuperation in Atland. And that's basically it. I mean, honestly, if you were to sum up the previous episode, that would be the summary. Sure, besides that, we got some talking, right? Some nice heart-to-heart, bits of adventures with Yaona almost drowning, bits of tension where we didn't know whether or not we're going the correct way. I think some setup with this dartfish, I'm gonna call it, with this dartfish poking through the surface of the water. It feels like it was meaningful somehow, that only Kaina witnessed it, and that it was even shown. Perhaps it was just a bit of the background, essentially, or perhaps the dartfish will be used in the future. We'll see about that. And the second half of the episode was essentially arriving at Atland, being welcomed as heroes, or, well, at least Kaina welcomed as a hero who brought the prince and the princess back to Atland. He was given the heroic treatment of a sauna and a massage from perhaps not who he was hoping to get the massage from, but a massage nonetheless. And besides, he also got a little bit of massage from whatchamacallit, from Liliha as well, so you can't really complain, can you? And then Liliha and Kaina figured that the words on the goblin in the dungeons underneath Atland, in the old castle's old city underground, might be a, if not a key to finding the great tree, then at least a proof of its existence. So I'm assuming now they will delve into the depths of Atland to try to find that goblin and somehow convince Liliha's father that the letters actually mean something and that there is salvation in the Great Tree. Probably the way it's going to go. Liliha and Kaina setting off on an adventure to find the Great Tree. Perhaps with Yaona and Tao. We'll see. And we'll also see whether that adventure will be with Father's blessing or without it. Will they have to sneak out of Atlant to go against the orders of the king, or will it be sanctioned by the king? We know that Valgia is coming. They are coming and they are towing something that looks like a mecha. So it's entirely possible that they will attack Atlant, and Atlant will be on the brink of a fall, and that's when the king will release, so to speak, Liliha, Yaona and Kaina to go search for the Great Tree, and that might bring them salvation, and if not everybody, then at least those three will be free. They will escape Valgia. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to expect, but of course we will see. This anime surprised me multiple times already. I fully expect it to surprise me at least once more. We have a couple of episodes, so probably a couple more times more. Great, you can tell it's late. And of course the movie that will surprise me, no doubt, as well. Regardless, episode 9 is here, so you're gonna need the subs to follow along with the timer. I'm gonna need sound to hear what's going on in the show. And of course, I'm gonna have to ask you guys for your support. Support the channel if you want monetarily, Patreon Throne, links in the description below, or not, share my content, spread the word, costs you nothing, helps a lot. And now with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 9 of Ooyukiumi no Kaina in 3, 2, 1, go. Right, Liliha brought information that Valgia is just a giant on straw legs. Yeah, it's just made of random scraps of wood. You can burn it, you can get inside. Okay, personally. He's a leader, not a ruler. I mean, he's both, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so I was correct initially that written language is somehow extinct. Possible. Wouldn't surprise me if this sage was some sort of a pre-cataclysm human. Indeed. Okay, so literally pre-writing methods of passing information. Well, they're probably dead by now. I mean, not like Kaina was particularly bothered leaving, so either he didn't even think of the possibility of something happening, or he just said fuck all y'all and went with Liliha. It's still unclear what happened. Sorry for not saying anything, but I'm really enjoying the OP. And also, just a random thought popped into my head. Or, random thought. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. That I really enjoy environmental storytelling in this show. Nobody told us that the snow isn't snow, or that water isn't water, but you can infer that. Because the snow doesn't behave like snow, the water doesn't behave like water, right? Insignia of an ancient castle. Probably not, let's be honest. He can't read. The writing on that goblin might read spring rolls 350 per piece. And if Kaina says that it's the proof for the existence of the great tree, there's no way for the king to verify it. To all the people. Yeah, for sure. And perhaps even Amelothe. I still suspect the Admiral just likes war. That's his whole shtick. He doesn't want salvation, he doesn't want water, he just wants war. So there might be a little bit of an uprising in Valgia, I feel. The Admiral just wants war. Meanwhile, Amelothe sees the possibility of salvation. And, yeah, a bit of a conflict. And they're spreading some information at the grassroots level. Yeah. Yes, start seeding some rumors. And they will grow, they will spiral, they will snowball until everybody's talking about it. Okay, I see what you're doing there. I mean, Amelotha, you witnessed them coming down from the tree. Oh, something rings a bell? Because back then she was bullshitting you. Right now she's saying the truth. Your homeland was destroyed because the admiral is a warmonger. I mean... Also, what monsters? Imaginary, I assume. Yeah, and just treated it as a pattern. Rotated 45 degrees. That ought to help. That's a nice detail, pulling down the shell mail to blow the horn. At the same time, pulling it down after turning around so that they don't have to render the face, because there is no face. If that looks like a drone or a plane. Acorn guns. What are the fences embedded in? Are they floating? Or did they somehow get to the bottom of the sea or drilled into the roots? Or a grape shot, okay. For how long though? Meanwhile, Orinoga is gonna try to sneak into Valgia. Those cannons must have not much recoil if they can just manually operate them like that. They're not really sneaking, it's more like a cavalry charge. I mean, as far as the king is concerned, it's still just a flag covered with patterns. Do those look different when rotated? Oh. Okay, so it was just rotated. Gotcha. Understandable. Where's the mecha you were towing? Why, if they can weaken you with artillery first? Map of the Great Snow Sea. Yeah? And each of those squares is an orbital tree, I'm assuming? They are placed in a grid. Yeah, kinda. You can recognize patterns. Now you're looking for something with the prefix dai. Where? Okay. So I was correct about the die. You ain't got no ships. So that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, they just bypassed you. You think the Admiral cares about the civilians? Right? Great Oceanic Trench. So the Mariana Trench, assuming this is Earth. It's a trench, it goes down, not up. So you can swim over it. Oh, okay. So apparently it like pulls you down, even if you have the floaty things. I mean, assuming this world is still around, you can just go the other way. It's gonna take you a little while longer, but okay, infiltration successful. Yeah, just a bunch of haphazard wood. Is that why there were drawings of drones on this map? Because you can only fly over this trench. And is perhaps one such drone here? Okay, so maybe a snowfoil stick strong enough to... Okay. So it's a buried ship. Interesting. How are you gonna excavate it, though? Okay. How are you gonna get your hands on a Valgian ship, though? And how are you gonna connect this snowfoil stick to it? Yeah, that fortress ain't shit. Yeah, okay. So he's going to deploy the mecha. And is he right now descending into the cockpit or something? Or putting on his VR goggles to steer it? And going where? Oh, back to Valgia. Okay, probably. They don't care about people in the fortress. That's what's going on. Yeah, it is a VR headset. Weird ass VR headset, but a VR headset nonetheless. Looks like it was patched up with bits and pieces of human skull. Both groups climbing up. There's nobody here. The bridge doesn't matter. Hello, Amelothe. The bridge is just a decoy. Oh, the whirring of the servo motors. I love the sound of their armor. The mecha. Yep. Okay, how's it gonna look? Is it gonna be a Gundam? Is it gonna be something quadrupedic? Quadrupedal? No, not a Gundam. Or rather, not Gundam-like. Okay, some broken bit of the head, broken arm. You call it an architect, and yet all it does is destroy. I mean, possibly the original purpose of it was actually helping build things, right? It was a construction machine. But of course, the Admiral would use it as a destruction tool. Is the bridge gonna get blown up? Okay, maybe not. Okay, does it have a cannon? Oh no, it's Atlanteans. Okay, it's Atlanteans attacking it, hence the explosions, is what I wanted to say. I'm trying to think of ways to get out of this situation. It's not like acorn cannons are gonna do much damage to that mecha. So that's out. The only weakness is the Admiral himself. Kill the Admiral, you kill the robot. Amalothe would probably be able to just very easily dispatch of the Admiral. I wonder why hasn't she done that yet? He's just sitting in his throne with a VR headset over his head. Amelothe is trusted, somewhat at least, so he wouldn't be wary of Amelothe just entering the cabin. Maybe something happened that needs his attention, and then Amelothe just stabs him in the back. Done. So I wonder why she hasn't done that yet. Or maybe she's gonna do that now. Who's gonna convince her? That's another question. Plenty of things in this episode that I can't see how they're gonna go, how they're gonna get out of those situations. How are they gonna get their hands on a Valgian ship? That's another thing, right? Okay. Let's watch it again, shall we? Yeah, he's going to... Orinoga is going to infiltrate the fortress. The king is going to lead the guards. Written words. Written words were somehow forgotten. I wonder why. I wonder how that happened. I think I discussed it a little in the previous episode. How do you have written word go extinct? How's that even possible? Changes in the language, sure. Changes in the writing system, absolutely. Changes can happen. Because language and writing and everything just evolves. But the thing with evolution is that it generally doesn't devolve already evolved useful features. Right? Like, humans will not eventually evolve into not having eyes, because eyes give us an advantage, so evolution will prefer people with eyes over people without eyes, right? I mean, with modern medicine and modern approach to everything, evolution doesn't really work on humans. But take anything, take animals, right? If you have, I don't know, dogs, right? Like regular dogs, dogs without eyes, they won't evolve in that direction, right? Evolution will not remove useful features. So the language evolved into... And also, another thing, things will not evolve themselves into extinction, right? Evolution goes the other way. It evolves things towards survival, not towards extinction. So the fact that language as a whole evolved in a way to not have a written form, or that written language devolved in a way to just go extinct, that's very weird. That's very unusual. And I have absolutely no ideas why. It's not like writing is... It's not like there was some big, huge apocalypse that wiped everything out, and since that apocalypse, nobody knows any writing. No, they created those flags, those goblins, and they had writing on them. So, until some point, written word in Atlant did exist. But then it ceased to. It's too useful to just disappear, right? Some things in the culture might actually disappear. They might not be particularly useful. For example, if a culture has any specific dietary restrictions, and then an apocalypse arrives, and suddenly those dietary restrictions don't really make sense because you're willingly, getting rid of perfectly fine edible food, and there isn't much food of it, so dietary restrictions just go to the sidelines and you eat whatever you have. And eventually the culture evolves in a way where there are no dietary restrictions, right? Suddenly pork is fine to eat, suddenly combining, cheese with meat is fine, suddenly you don't need to bleed out animals in a ritualistic way, right? Suddenly all of that is perfectly fine to consume. But writing is too useful and too important for a culture to evolve it out. And at the same time, it's not really something you can force people to forget. Like, you can change cultures in a way where you forcefully, right? Forcibly, you can have them learn a different language forcefully. It happened in Poland, right? Germanization on one side, Russification on the other. It's actual thing that happened many times in the world. Some rituals of a given culture, they could be forcibly expelled. And even then, not entirely. There are plenty of Christian rituals and Christian holy days in Poland, for example, that really stem from pagan times, from Slavic mythologies, from Slavic religion, and they aren't really seen anywhere outside of this like Slavic bubble. Like we have a holiday. I don't quite know how to translate it, but it's essentially all about herbs and greens and stuff like that, right? You make a bouquet of herbs and you hang it on a thing on the door or something like that. And that was some sort of a pagan tradition, pagan ritual. But now you give it a name of like Herbal Mary holiday, and you go take that bouquet to the church to have it sprinkled with holy water, and suddenly it's a perfectly fine Christian holiday, right? So even those sorts of traditions, it's kind of hard to evolve them out, and the writing, most of all. It's ingrained in every single person who ever used a writing system. Even if you are forced to not use writing, to not teach your children writing, it's kind of hard to do. All you need is some sand or some dust and a finger, and you can teach your kid writing. A piece of charcoal is enough. A piece of gypsum. So you can't really force the whole culture to just collectively forget writing. It can't be removed. It's impossible for it to evolve out. So what happened? Another possibility would be that they don't have ways to create written words, but no, that's also a lie. As I said, a piece of charcoal is enough, and there's plenty of bark to write on. So that doesn't make sense either. I wonder. Signs are boards with words written on them. Each character has a pattern that corresponds to a word. In case of Japanese language, yes. And she seeks a little bit of praise from Kaina, of course. In olden days, people left important stuff in writing. Yeah, the time when the sage lived. Beware of falling objects. The evidence that our worlds were once one. Indeed. We pass down important information orally or through secret rituals. That's how it was done in pre-writing period of humanity. Before written word was a thing, that's how people passed down their knowledge. With rituals, with tales, with mythology. But then writing word happened, and suddenly all of the cultures started writing shit down and all those oral traditions kind of died out. Not entirely, they are still around, but like you don't learn quantum physics from some professor who learned quantum physics from his father, who learned quantum physics from his grandfather, from mythology and shaking maracas and dancing around a fire, right? It's been written down. So again, very weird that writing was phased out somehow. Maybe people pass them down through written words. Indeed. Wish, pray, sage, letter, feel, words. It's possible they passed down a lot more than just that, even to people far away or people living at a different era. Exactly, the fact that you can read the writing right now speaks volumes for the usefulness of a written language. Kaina can read them. OP, 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 OP. Past OP. Okay, OP. Do you think Father will believe us about the Spire Tree? That flax has been passed down within the royal family. That's why we need some way to inform the people of Valgia too. Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? To let them know there's no need to steal water from each other. Informing people of Valgia is a problem, and going against the Admiral is a problem. Like, you can tell people of Valgia, hey, yo, there's no... hey, yo, there's no need to fight anymore. We found an infinite source of water, so let's just, start anew there, grab your shit, and let's swim to the Great Spire Tree and build a whole new civilization there. You can do that, but the Admiral is just gonna turn around and mow Valgians down because he has no issue killing his people. He just wants war. He's not doing any of that for the benefit of his people. He just wants to fuck shit up. That's what drives him. Not some holy war against the others, no. Not some war for resources so that our people don't have to die of thirst, no. He just wants to go to war. And yeah, I doubt that'd be enough for the Admiral to stop this war. Indeed. I'm gonna reach out to the people of Atlant, the people of Valga, to people's hearts. She's gonna make one fine queen. Yeah, you'd be a far better king than me, absolutely. Valgans are coming. Yeah, they are towing the mecha behind them. And they are spreading the something Skull Society, or whatever they were called. They are spreading some rumors. They are stirring up a little bit of unrest in Valgia. They are tilling the fields and sowing some seeds. And then Princess of Atlant comes around, says, hey, yo, we found the orbital spire tree. And they already know what's going on. They already know what's the deal. And they're like, oh shit, that was actually true. And they already have their imagination. In their imagination, they already have the picture of this great spire tree built. They already have an idealized vision of it. So they will follow. They absolutely will follow. I have no doubt that as soon as the Admiral goes down, people of Valga will follow Liliha. She managed to escape, thanks to a hero from the Canopy, of course. The hero told the princess where the great spire tree is. Yeah, the spire tree that isn't dried out. If it's found, our worries will be over. And see, the seed of doubt, the seed of rebellion is already sown. We shouldn't be fighting Atlant right now, wasting our lives. We should be beelining it for the great spire tree and getting our water. What the fuck are we doing here? What's the Admiral's goal? Why is he doing what he's doing? Right? Civil unrest. I'm sick and tired of war. Right? Those, whatchamacallit, those sentiments are rising in Valgia, and that's going to be to the benefit of Atlant. Strange rumors. Yeah. Huge orbital spire tree. She didn't mention anything like that during her interrogation. Well, a few possible explanations, of course. Either she was bullshitting back then, or she's bullshitting right now, or she's been bullshitting both times, or she hasn't been bullshitting. So I guess all four combinations. I haven't said much there, did I? Boost the soldiers' morale, of course. Everyone wants to fantasize about irrational dreams. You were fantasizing about irrational dreams once, too. Didn't you, Amelothe? You strike me as someone who did, but then got burned very badly, and you no longer dare fantasize. If such a tree existed, my homeland wouldn't have been destroyed. That broke you. Because you were fantasizing about a hero from the canopy who will save your people. You were fantasizing about a way to give everybody water. But none of that came true. But what if someone told you that there is a way? That there is a surefire way to actually fulfill those dreams? Would you follow them? I have a feeling she would. We came here to fight the monsters of... Actual monsters or imaginary ones? I don't know. We haven't really seen any monsters, quote unquote. Really any terrestrial creatures besides humans? Everything is just marine, whatever the accent is, creatures. Like snow horses and dartfish. And flying bugs up in the canopy. That one had patterns that looked like words but were illegible. This is also a map, isn't it? Or at least seems to be. I haven't really paid much attention to the pattern. The shapes are clearer and more legible on this one. They must have forgotten they were copying words and just treated it all as patterns indeed. What does it say? Well, it's rotated. This is cool. Pull down the chainmail, but it's not chainmail, it's made of shells, so shell mail. To blow the horn, but turned around because those models, they don't have faces. There's probably a gaping hole with no UVs or anything on the other side if you were to rotate the scene in Blender. To the Great Hall. How are those fences installed, is my question. Word-like things. Yeah, how were those fences installed, and when? Okay, those cannons aren't actually like held by anything back. So do they just not have recoil? Or do they have such low power that the recoil is non-existent? You see him fire the gun and the barrel just jumps up slightly, right? You'd think that firing something like that wouldn't be just a bit of recoil, but rather it would just, pull your hands back with it, unless it's propped up by something in the back, which it isn't. So interesting, how are those acorn cannons propelled? Meanwhile, the Valgians have essentially backshot trebuchets and backshot catapults. No, those are trebuchets, loaded up with a bunch of stones to cover as big of an area as possible. If they fall back, our cannons will not reach the Valgian fleets. Due to the fences we've erected in the snow sea, they're unable to get any closer. Valgia's catapults can only reach the harbor. We need to disarm the catapult. Do they just have a single one, or does every ship has one? Because it seems to be the latter to me, but I don't know, maybe I don't have an eagle eye from the observation deck that she has. And lead the royal guards from the watchtower at the harbor. Meanwhile, he is going to try to infiltrate Valgia. This also, if we can't read what's written on it, it's just a flag covered with patterns. The father can't read it either, so he can't really verify that whatever you're saying is true. It might just be patterns. You have no way of knowing. The father, the king, has no way of knowing, right? Like, I could take... Actually, I'm going to. I can take a piece of paper and then do some... Right? And then I can do something like that, and you can't read it. You can't read those symbols, but I can tell you that it's ancient... Some interesting words in Latin, possibly on something. Catharalis. Okay, it's ancient Catharalisian, and it says spring rolls 350 apiece. You have no way of verifying that. You don't know if it's Catharalisian or not. I mean, nowadays you have Google, you can Google it, but those people have no way of verifying it. So they have no way of checking, oh yeah, you're actually right, it says what you say it says, and they have no way of saying, oh no, it actually says something different, or oh no, it's actually just random shapes, it's just gibberish, it's not actually language. A lot of trust they must put in Kaina, the king must put in Kaina, and I wonder if he's going to. Or if he's just going to dismiss Liliha's and Kaina's claims that it's actually a map. Yeah, it has some different drawings. This looks like an airplane to me. But apparently it's like a great snow foil. Oh. Oh, it's rotated. Yep. Atlant should be more formidable. They have elite cavalry. Yeah, she's thinking. Where are they? Map of the Great Snow Sea. So that's what it says. And we have some spots that... those orange ones. There's one here-ish, and there's one here. They can look like Nessie, like different sightings of a Nessie. Okay, every orbital tree is signed as orbital tree, and then there's one signed as di-orbital tree. Then we have those winged arrows that remind me of something from Zelda. And a bunch of orange triangles. And some of those squares look like Minecraft crafting table, and some are plain. And some have lines on the sides, and some do not. What's the deal with all of that? And even in the Great Rift, or Great Trench, Great Sea Trench, or whatever it's called, there are also different markings. Red arrows, half arrows, no arrows. Fuck's going on? Oh, wait, is it... It's not a plane. It's rotated. It's a... Yeah. It's a boat. It's that weird ass Atlantean kind of a boat. Can I rotate this image? And if so, how? Image, rotate. Yeah, okay. Can I now show it? Possibly. There we go. Right? When you rotate it, it looks like a boat. Up at the top is the mast, and at the bottom is the weird like vertical oars that they're using. So it's a boat, I think. No, don't save changes. So he's probably correct. They are probably correct, assuming that this shows how can you get safely through the Great Undersea Rift, or again, whatever it's called. There's a bird in the top left corner of this map. That looks like a bird. And then near the upper right corner, there is something that looks like a dragonfly, vaguely. And also very cool detail of them using their swords. Or are those swords also painted on? No, I think those are their swords. That they use it to keep the goblin straight? I don't know, hard to tell. When written words are upside down, it changes their shape. I mean, it's probably not obvious to Liliha, so of course. Orbital Spire tree. Plenty of those. This is a map. This is the village in the canopy that I lived in. How did you come to that conclusion? I don't know. Is the winged arrow a symbol for a human settlement? Possibly. Great Spire tree, and then there's also one for Atland. Yeah, this is Atland. Oh, I think those swords are actually stitched onto this goblin. Great Orbital Spire tree. And you can use a ship to get there, but you need to get a ship from Valgia, and that poses a problem. Attacking fortress directly, they're going to attack the fortress. Most of our soldiers are on the ship, leaving the fortress more vulnerable. Who's there that'll be missed if they're killed? Ice cold. He really doesn't give a fuck about his citizens. None. Zero fucks. Also, I just noticed, is his eye patch not actually an eye patch? It reminds me a lot of those like primitive sunglasses that Inuit tribes, for example, make. Right, a piece of leather with very thin slits in them, so to limit the amount of light that gets in. Could it be like a primitive sunglass monocle that he's wearing? Perhaps it's his right eye that's blind, because it's white. It's like a cataract or something. So he's protecting his left eye with the eye patch. Could it be? I wonder. Actually, let me note it down. Ooyukiumi no Kaina. Admirals. Right eye is blind. Parenthesis cataract. His eye patch is actually Inuit sunglass monocle. Entirely possible. We can get to the Great Spire Tree. And then there is the Great Oceanic Trench. That is apparently impassable. For some reason. Even ships with snowfoil sticks can't cross the heavy snow sea in oceanic trenches. Why? It raises even more questions about the nature of the water and the nature of the snow. Apparently you need very low... Oh, I think I know what might be the issue. The sticks, the snowfoil sticks, their vertical oars need to pierce through the snow and get to the layer of water, because that's the only place where they can find some purchase, some resistance. The snow just scuttles away, so you can't use it for propulsion. And apparently in the oceanic trench, the layer of snow is bigger than everywhere else, so you need longer oars, longer snowfall sticks. That would be an explanation. Another explanation would be that it's somehow magically less buoyant. We know that everybody needs those weird, like, snowfoil pouches or whatever it was called to float. We still don't know how they work. We still don't know what the fuck they are. But apparently it's even harder to float in the trench. Possibly. Again, I don't know. If the scale of this map is accurate, it's an impossibly large trench. Enemy invasion. Yeah, it's very shabby on the inside. And people inside are very much miserable. Once we show it to Father, he may think of a plan. Indeed, and thankfully behind it was a great, grand snowfoil stick. Possibly enough to go past the trench, but how are you gonna use it? That's a question. Assuming you somehow get your hands on a Valgian ship, how are you going to mount this thing on a Valgian ship? I thought it might be just an entire ship that's somehow buried in the depths of Atlant, that they forgot about shipmaking, but there's one last remaining galleon hidden somewhere, and they can just take it out somehow and use it to sail to the Great Tree. But it seems to be just a snowfall stick. We can make a great ship. Maybe this is where we need to go using the giant snowfall stick. Maybe. I mean, who the fuck knows? It's just a bunch of symbols and icons, not much writing. You'd think the map would have a legend, but apparently not. In Atlant, the skill to build large ships was lost. This is more believable than the loss of a written language. If they had no materials to build large ships for a long while, of course they would lose the knowledge how to do that. Simple. If we can use Valgia's ship. Yeah, how? The only way, genuinely the only way I can see it working, is them working together with Amalothe. Somehow. I wish we could take this giant snowfall stick with us, but we don't have the means to do that. Admiral said, cover his ship. And he's going to go into his cabin with his VR headset and play some Beat Saber. Provide cover for the Admiral, and Amalothe meanwhile goes to Valgia. That's an interesting contraption. There's that bit of technology, right? A bit of glass, but with random wires just patched through it, or just pieces of rope or something. Then there's a bit of skull. Almost entirety of it is a human skull, with just like half of a VR headset embedded in it and some gems. How does it work? He puts it on, and that grants him control of the mecha, apparently. We're going to seize the fortress's bridge. Yeah, and the bridge is probably just a decoy. Of course it stands tall, because everybody who wants to attack Valgia is gonna get the same idea. Let's take control of the bridge, and that's just going to do it, because that's usually how it works. But this isn't a bridge. It's just an observation tower. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you captured it. We haven't settled our fight yet, and you're not gonna settle it for a while more. I love the wearing of servomotors in her armor. Why'd you follow him? Your nation has been ambushed. Why follow a commander who won't turn his fleet back to protect his people? Those are all good questions. It's no use. Look, it's about to activate. Yeah, it's activating, and meanwhile, the Admiral is completely and utterly 100% vulnerable in his chair. There's some really cool transformation sequence. Unfolding the arms. A singular arm, because the other one was apparently blown off. And apparently it's somehow strenuous or painful to the pilot. This whole thing has a skeletal construction. Something on the back. A gun, perhaps. For a moment I thought it's gonna be quadrupedal. But apparently not. Apparently it's bipedal. But how is it standing up? Is there a layer of roots underneath, or can it just float on top of the snow? Yeah, it's missing an ear, it's missing an arm. That is still plenty dangerous, of course. The architect. Why the architect? My assumption is that it was used for construction, and now it's not. That monster, and there we go. Edie, 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 Edie. Okay. That was a curious episode. That was a curious episode because I feel like it kind of left us in a place without an out, right? Like, I'm really having a hard time finding a way for all of it to be just resolved well. On one hand, right? On one hand, I'm finding it hard to figure out a way for Atlant to be saved in the current situation. I'm finding it hard to find a way to destroy the mecha, to defeat the Admiral. I'm finding it hard to find a way to get hands on a Valgian ship. I really can't think of good ways to achieve those things. It really feels like a losing scenario. Like you made some bad choices and you're headed towards the bad ending and you can't really steer away from it. I guess one way to steer away from it is for Atlant to fall. I think that's the only possibility I see. Atlant has to fall, and Liliha, Yaona, and Kaina somehow get their hands on a Valgian ship and set off towards the Great Orbital Tree. And perhaps bring the proof of its existence to Amelothe, and Everybody goes to live happily ever after under the orbital tree. After all, even after Atlant is destroyed, people of Atlant will be allowed to join Valgia. So it's not like the nation will be completely wiped off the face of the planet. Another possibility is, of course, Kaina perhaps using the laser cutter to defeat the mecha, or to defeat the admiral, or to save the situation as a whole, which might have worked if today's episode was like an episode 10 of a 12 episode series. Or sure, considering it's episode 9, it could work even for a 12 episode series. But it's not 12 episodes, you have to remember that. 11 episodes and a movie. So we cannot solve it in like 60 minutes, 60 odd minutes, because the movie will last longer than that. Probably, I don't know, there's no runtime listed yet. So on one hand, there's the easy solution, but then what to do with the rest of the season? On the other hand, there is the very hard solution of Atlant falling, succumbing to Valgia, and then Liliha and Kaina trying to restore things to how they were, thanks to the great orbital tree. Because, yeah, if we win the war with Valgia now, what's left? Unless they're going to go the way of actually defeating Valgia here, and uniting the people of Valgia and Atlant first, and then they set off towards the great orbital tree, perhaps with Amelothe, who is going to join them as a warrior, as a designated warrior. Amelothe and the general of Atlant, whose name I forgot. Yeah, I guess that would be another way they could go about it. Episode 10 or perhaps episode 11, the war with Valgia is won, and then the movie is Journey to... That could actually work. That could actually work. Episode 11 is going to be the climax of the Valgian War arc, and then the movie is going to be Saving Humanity arc. Finding the Great Orbital Tree, fighting through whatever trials and tribulations await them there, and bringing people there and living happily ever after, or perhaps somehow solving the problem of water globally. So many things that can happen. And I don't know which one will it be. And that's good. That's very good. Unpredictable series are good. Not too unpredictable though. And I think Ooyukiumi Kaina strikes the perfect balance between being completely chaotic and unpredictable, like recent episodes, not just episodes, like Symphogear AXZ, and completely predictable. So I like it. I like where it's going. And I'm waiting for more and waiting for the movie. I wonder which route they will take. I really wonder. There's so many things I wonder about when it comes to this series. The written language, the snowfoil, the nature of the snow, the nature of the water, what the fuck is this mecha, what are those dartfish, what is anything? What is anything, honestly? Yeah, cool episode, me enjoy. Did you also enjoy? Say in the comment if you want. What did you think of this episode, of my reaction, my theory, stuff like that? No spoilers, please. I know other episodes are out. I'm gonna get to them. If you do want to talk spoilers, my Discord is linked here and also in the description. Join it. There's a channel for Ooyukiumi Kaina where you will be able to discuss spoilers to your heart's content. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Ooyukiumi no Kaina, but also Benriya, Saitou-san Isekai ni Iku, Symphogear AXZ, and other shows that will be coming in the future. I did not forget about Madoka Magica. I know that I have the movie to watch and the Magia record. I will, eventually. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases. Already said that, didn't I? And click the bell icon to be notified when I go live, because I do stream live sometimes, so you might want to be notified of that. Support the channel if you want monetarily. Patreon Throne, links in the description below. For $10 a month, you can get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear AXZ, Madoka Magica, and others. And for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. And on Throne, you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better gear, better software, stuff like that. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps the channel an awful lot, believe you me. And now, with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And outro. And here's the list of my beautiful patrons. You can be one of them if only you so desire, and you don't need to find any orbital trees to achieve that.